Today on Crazed Performance Repair, I wanted to cover a little situation with the Ford Taurus radio as far as how do you pull a radio out of one of these Ford Tauruses. Now this is an actual Ford Taurus SHO, a 2010, and I imagine this generation up until, I don't know what it is, like 2015-ish or something like that, maybe less. But this particular body style, when you're pulling the radio and you have to access anything for diagnostic in this car, it is one hell of a challenge compared to what I expected. I have to admit that. So stay tuned and we'll get into how this thing actually comes apart and gets to that point right there. So you can see I'm obviously just hanging out of the camera, and that's because I'm interior of the vehicle, and the way I'm going to explain this is a little different than my typical video because I already have the thing apart. I was not planning on making a video on this thing, but I'll be honest, this thing got out of hand as far as taking it apart. Now, typically when I pull a radio out of a car for looking at something, it's a couple of clips, maybe a vent, you know, one of these vents or something has to come off in order to get it apart. But if you look at this thing, you see I'm missing the instrument cluster panel, the speaker cover. I'm missing pretty much the whole center console. This thing is flipped up. I'm missing most of the parts here. This is loose. Now, why in the world would I have to go through all this trouble to take a radio out? It is absolutely insane to me that it requires this much to come apart, just to take a stupid radio head unit out. So here is the head unit itself. It's connected with some kind of an antenna there, and then we have the, below my thumb there, the actual main connector for it. So there's not much connecting it. Now it is held on by the 4 bolts or screws. What you need for this job is a plastic pry bar, and then like a hand driver here. This is a 7mm socket on here, and I'm also using, which is not needed, but I'm using it, a little impact driver with a 7mm swivel socket on it. Now, originally I thought, okay, so I got to pop, there's a little plastic panel. So you can see this thing sitting in here like this, right? So originally I thought that all I had to do is get this bezel out of here, and then I took a quick look and I saw that the vents covered it up. Okay, the vents covered it up, no big deal, pop the vents out. Well, the vents integrate back here. So this guy is part of the vent box. It's all molded together. This piece, as it's sitting right here, is actually covered up by this guy here. So if you look at this, you have this bolt, these 2 bolt holes here, and that tab. Now that tab locks in right here. So this thing comes over top of this, and you can see you have another one of those tab deals right here. This tab deal gets covered up by this little hole right here, and then this one has a tab deal right here that gets covered up by, there we go, this guy, which is the cup holder thing or whatever, the auxiliary cup holder, I guess you could call it, because that one's also a cup holder. But then you have this guy covering that tab hole, and then you take these screws out to get that off of there. So once you get this guy loose from here, so you get this guy loose, then you get this guy loose, you have to pull this back into neutral, then you have to take this guy out, set that aside, then you're not even close yet. All you got released at this point is the very bottom half of this. So once you have the bottom half of this thing available and accessed, then you can move on to these 2 vents. In order to get those 2 vents out, you have to pull this. There's like an ignition switch little panel-y thing going on here, and then these tabs, you gotta squeeze these in to pop this off. So you pull that out, you leave the switch in so that you can still turn the thing on for testing, is what I ended up doing. But there's a couple of tabs that you have to pry up very carefully because they're easy to break. Pry up and pull this off of here. Once you get those off of there, then you go over to this side, and there's this steering and foot pedal, or well, that's speed, it looks like. I don't know, dimmer, maybe that's lights. Then you got the foot pedal little button here. You have to take the kick panel off here too in order to get this stuff off. And then there's some screws holding these things in place. So you have this, you have to pop off of there. It's just held on by tabs. And for all these little pop-off deals, all I'm using is that little plastic pry bar. Once you get these guys out of the way, you have to take the steering column here. There's a lever down here that you pull down, and then the steering wheel is telescoping and tilting. So if it's in or up or whatever at all, you have to pull it down, pull it towards you, then you can lock it into place to keep it there. Once you do that, then you're able to pop this piece out. So this guy right here, you're able to, and you can see it's got locking tabs on it as well. You're almost able to pull that guy out, but not quite. I forgot one thing. You have one screw, so you have to take that screw right there off. Then you can pop this guy out. Now, when you pop this guy out, you can see it's pretty massive. It's got these tabs. Those tabs go way up in there, and that is the challenge and why you have to move the steering wheel. So once you have this guy out of there, then you can go ahead and pop that cover off. Once this cover's off and that dash decorative trim stuff is off, then you have screws here, here, and here that you have to take out. Then this guy up here has to be popped out, and it's also held on by the same style tabs. So you pop that guy out of there, then you have to take these screws out. You can pop this guy out at this point, but you have to disconnect all the electrical connectors. There's one down here, two up there. Then you can access the radio. But, well, not quite. I mean, wrong way. You have to take these screws out even to get this thing out. So if you need to get this thing out, you have to take those screws out there. Then you can see the screw back there, and then there's another one there. Then you have these guys over here. So it is one hell of an ordeal to get that radio out. I am baffled as to why they tied everything together so extremely. So this thing is absolutely insane to take out. Stupid overkill engineering as far as the assembly process. I mean, when they did this on an assembly line, they could not skip one step. There are so many screws, so many things that you have to take out. It blew my mind, and that's why I decided to make a video about just that, because there is so much going on to take this dashboard apart. It blew my mind. I could not believe how integrated it was. It just stunned me. So anyway, like, share, subscribe, and as always, I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.